The stars shone bright through the large window of the space station. Dr. Taehyun Kim stood alone, watching the darkness of space. He was 42 years old and in charge of all medical work on the station. His hands, rough from years of work, moved across his screen as he read the news. Alien ships were coming to Earth. 6 months, he said to himself. 6 months since they first called us, and now they're finally here. The year was 2087. Humans had built space stations and visited Mars, but they had never met beings from other worlds until now. The Galactic Council had sent a message to Earth, asking humans to join their group of space-traveling species. Today, the first alien ship would arrive at the station. "Dr. Kim, please come to the main dock," said a voice over the speaker system. "The alien ship will arrive in 10 minutes. Taehyun took a deep breath and fixed his blue uniform. This was a big day for all humans. He walked quickly through the metal hallways of the station, nodding to other crew members who looked just as nervous as he felt. When he arrived at the main dock, Commander Ji-young Park was already there with 5 other crew members. She was the leader of the station, a strong woman with short black hair and a serious face. "Ah, Dr. Kim, good. Stand here with us," she said. "The aliens asked to meet our medical expert right away." Taehyun stood in line with the others. Through the thick window he could see a ship coming closer. It looked nothing like human ships. It was shaped like a crystal and seemed to glow with its own light. "It's beautiful," whispered someone behind him. The alien ship connected to the station with a soft thud. There was a hissing sound as air pressures matched between the two ships. Then with a mechanical whir, the round door began to open. Taehyun held his breath. In the doorway stood 3 beings unlike anything he had ever seen. The first alien was tall and thin, almost twice as tall as a human. Its skin glowed like it had stars under it. It had 4 long arms and a head with no hair. Its eyes were large and silver. The second alien was shorter and looked like it was made of wood. Its skin was like tree bark with glowing green spots all over. It had a wide body and moved slowly. The third alien was the strangest. It looked like water that had taken a shape. It was inside a clear suit that kept its liquid body together. Commander Park stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth's Deep Space Research Station. I am Commander Ji-young Park, leader of this station." The tall, glowing alien spoke first. Its voice sounded like small bells in the wind. "I am Elder Nolda of the Luminare. My people have traveled in space for 12,000 of your Earth years." The tree-like alien moved forward with slow steps. "I am Sage Thorvrim of the Arborians. We have watched stars be born and die for 9,000 years. The water-like alien made bubbling sounds before speaking. "I am Matriarch Zilf of the Aquari. We have moved through space for 7,000 years. Commander Park nodded and began to introduce her team. "This is Security Chief Do-hyun Choi, our head engineer, Jin Woo-baek, Communications Officer Sumi, Yoon Science Officer Minji Han, and our Chief Medical Officer Dr. Taehyun Kim." When Park pointed to Taehyun, the tall alien called Elder Nolda turned its silver eyes toward him. "A medical officer?" Elder Nolda asked, its head tilting to one. "So do humans still get sick? Do your bodies still break? Most space-traveling species have fixed these problems by now." Taehyun felt his face grow warm. He smiled politely. "We have made our lives better and longer. But yes, we are still living beings with bodies that can break." "The tree-like alien?" Sage Thorvrim asked in a deep, slow voice. "How long do humans live?" "Our average life is about 120 years now," Taehyun said. "Some live to 150 with the best medical care." The 3 aliens looked at each other. Even though they were very different from humans, Taehyun could tell they felt sorry for him. It made him feel small. "I am in my 300th year," said Sage Thorvrim. "I am only middle-aged for my kind." Elder Nolda nodded. "The shortest-lived aliens in the Council live about 400 of your years. Most of us count our lives in thousands of years." The water-like alien made bubbling sounds that the translator turned into words. "Your lives are so short. How sad for you." "Commander." Park's face stayed calm, but Taehyun could see her jaw tighten. She was not happy with how the aliens were talking down to them. "We may not live as long as you, Taehyun said, keeping his voice friendly. But we make good use of the time we have. Elder Nolda made a sound like small bells. Of course, we meant no harm. Please show us your station. We are interested in how humans live. Commander Park led the aliens away from the dock. Taehyun followed, watching how the aliens moved. The tall one glided as if it weighed nothing. The tree one took slow, heavy steps. The water one flowed inside its clear suit. Over the next few hours, they showed the aliens the station. The aliens asked many questions about how humans worked, ate, slept, and lived. In the station's dining area, they sat at a large table. The aliens watched as the humans ate their food. "You must eat every day?" asked Elder Nolda, sounding surprised. 3 times a day is normal," said Jinwoo the engineer. "Some people eat more. We Luminare absorb energy once every 50 days, said Elder Nolda. "Eating so often seems tiring." Matriarch Zilf bubbled before speaking. "Your lives move so quickly. Do you not find it rushed?" Taehyun thought about this. "It's all we know. To us, this is normal speed." Sage Thavrim's bark-like face moved in what might have been a smile. "On our homeworld, we sometimes watch a single flower grow from seed to bloom. It can take 10 years. We find it relaxing." The humans at the table looked at each other. The idea of watching a plant grow for 10 years seemed very boring. "We have fast lives," said Taehyun, "but that doesn't mean they're worth less than long ones." Elder Nolda's glowing skin flashed brighter for a moment. "Of course not. All life has value. But surely you must wish to live longer? To see more of the universe?" Before Taehyun could answer, Jinwoo spoke up. "It's not about how long you watch the universe. It's about how much you see while you're watching." The aliens fell silent thinking about this idea. Later that night, Taehyun sat in his room, writing notes about the aliens. He wrote about their bodies, how they moved, and what they had said about their lives. There was a knock at his door. It was Commander Park. "How do you think it went today?" she asked, sitting in the chair across from him. "They think we're children," said Taehyun. "They feel sorry for us because we don't live for thousands of years." Park nodded. "I noticed that, too. They look at us like we're less than them. But we're not," said Taehyun. "We just live differently." "Exactly," said Park. "And over the next few weeks we're going to show them just how special humans can be." As he got ready for bed that night, Taehyun thought about the aliens and their long lives. They had seen so much, lived through so much, but had they really lived? Did they feel the rush of joy, the sting of pain, the wonder of discovery the way humans did? Tomorrow would be the start of showing these ancient aliens what humanity was really made of. Taehyun smiled as he turned off his light. The aliens might live for thousands of years, but they had never met humans before. And humans, with their short, bright lives, were about to surprise them. A week had passed since the aliens arrived at the space station. They walked around, studying how humans lived and worked. Taehyun often found them watching the crew with curious eyes. One morning, Taehyun sat in the large recreation room. This room had been made to help the crew relax. It had soft chairs, games, and big screens that showed movies or scenes from Earth. Right now, the main screen showed a forest with a small stream running through it. Elder Nolda, the tall, glowing alien, came into the room and sat near Taehyun. The alien moved like it was floating. "Your people made this room to rest?" asked Elder Nolda. "Yes," said Taehyun. "Humans need to take breaks from work. We play games, talk with friends, or just sit and rest." "Interesting," said Elder Nolda. "My people can stay still and think for years without getting bored or tired. Once, I spent 30 years looking at a single star. I watched how it changed and learned many things." Taehyun tried to imagine sitting still for 30 years. It seemed impossible. That would be hard for humans. We like to move, to do things. "Because your lives are so short," said Elder Nolda. "You must rush." Before Taehyun could answer, Jinwoo walked in. The young engineer had grease on his hands from fixing something. He heard what Elder Nolda said and smiled. "We don't rush because our lives are short," Jinwoo said. "Our lives are full because we don't waste time." Elder Nolda's skin flashed with light patterns. Explain. Jinwoo sat down and wiped his hands on a cloth. You watched a star for 30 years. In those same 30 years, I could learn 20 different skills, visit 100 places, meet thousands of people, read 10,000 books, and still have time to watch the stars. The alien was quiet for a moment. But you would not understand the star as deeply as I do. Maybe not, said Jinwoo, but I would understand 1,000 other things that you never even looked at. Taehyun watched this talk with interest. Jinwoo was saying what many of the crew had been thinking but were too polite to say. Are you saying that humans live more in their short lives than we do in our long ones? Asked Elder Nolda. The alien did not sound angry, just confused. That's exactly what I'm saying, said Jinwoo. Your people might live for thousands of years, but you move so slowly that you miss most of life. Sage Thovrim, the tree-like alien, and Matriarch Zilf, the water-like alien, came into the room. They had been listening from the doorway. This is a strange idea, said Sage Thovrim, its deep voice rumbling. How can a short life be more full than a long one? Taehyun had an idea. Maybe we could test it. We could make a challenge to see how our different species live and learn. The three aliens looked at each other, talking in their own languages. Then Matriarch Zilf bubbled and spoke. What kind of challenge? Each species could make a test, said Taehyun. Something that shows how they live and learn. We all try each test and we see who does best. What would these tests show? Asked Sage Thovrim. They would show how fast we learn, how we handle new things, how we feel about experiences, said Taehyun. They would show what it really means to be alive. The aliens talked among themselves again. Finally, Elder Nolda turned to the humans. We accept this challenge. It will be interesting to show why our way of life is better, Taehyun smiled. Or it might show why our way has value too. Later that day, Taehyun talked to Commander Park in her office. He told her about the challenge. Do you think this is a good idea? She asked. The Galactic Council is watching us. They're deciding if humans can join them. We should be careful. I think it's a good idea, said Taehyun. They look down on us because we don't live as long. This is our chance to show them that human lives still matter. Commander Park thought for a moment, then nodded. Fine. Set up your challenge, but make sure it's fair. Over the next 3 days, Taehyun worked with the aliens to plan the challenge. They would have 4 tests, 1 from each species. Each test would last for 1 week. Everyone would try all the tests. On the morning of the first test, they all met in a large empty room. Elder Nolda would go first with the Luminare test. My people learn by being still and thinking deeply, said Elder Nolda. Our test is simple. You will sit still for 16 hours each day. You will look at this crystal. The alien held up a small, clear stone that glowed softly. As you look, the crystal will change color very slowly. You must notice every small change. Taehyun and Jinwoo looked at each other. Sitting still for 16 hours a day would be very hard for humans. Young Luminare spend their first 100 years learning to do this, said Elder Nolda. We'll try our best, said Taehyun. They all sat on soft mats on the floor. The aliens seemed comfortable, but the humans shifted and moved, trying to find good positions. Elder Nolda placed the crystal in the middle of the room. Now we begin. Be still and watch. The first hour was easy enough. The crystal was pretty to look at, and it did change colors in small ways. But by the 3rd hour, Taehyun felt his legs getting stiff. His back hurt. He wanted to move. He looked at the other humans. They were all having the same problems. Jinwoo was trying not to fidget. Security Officer Do-Yun was blinking too much. Even the usually calm Commander Park looked uncomfortable. The aliens, though, were perfectly still. They didn't seem to be having any trouble at all. By the end of the first day, all the humans were sore and tired. They walked stiffly to their rooms. This is impossible, said Jinwoo, stretching his arms. No human can sit still that long. We have to try, said Taehyun. We can't give up on the first day. The next day was just as hard, and the next. By the 4th day, Taehyun felt like his body was made of stone. Everything hurt. He couldn't focus on the crystal anymore. His mind kept wandering to other things. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the test and how the humans were failing. Then he had an idea. The next morning, he gathered the humans before the test. "We're doing this wrong," he said. "We're trying to be like them, but we're not them. We're humans. We need to find our own way to do this." "What do you mean?" asked Commander Park. "Instead of fighting our bodies, let's work with them," said Taehyun. "Let's use what humans are good at." He explained his plan. When they went back to the test, they tried something new. They still sat, but now they would change positions every 30 minutes. They would take deep breaths. They would use their minds in a human way, focusing on the crystal but also letting their thoughts flow. It was still hard, but now it felt possible. By the 7th day, the last day of the test, something strange happened. Taehyun found that he could watch the crystal for hours without getting too uncomfortable. He noticed small changes in color that he had missed before. When the test ended, Elder Nolda looked at the humans with surprise. "Your brain patterns changed," said the alien. "At first they were chaotic, but by the end they were more focused. You learned to be still in your own way." "We adapted," said Taehyun. "That's what humans do. We find a way to make things work for us." "Interesting," said Elder Nolda. "But one test is not enough. Next week we will try Sage Thorvrim's Arborian test." As they left the room, Jinwoo whispered to Taehyun, "1 down, 3 to go. Think we can win this?" Taehyun smiled. "I don't know if we'll win, but I know we'll surprise them." The aliens watched the humans go. They had expected the humans to fail, completely. Instead, the short-lived beings had found a way to adapt. It was not the Luminare way, but it had worked. For the first time, the aliens wondered if there might be more to these humans than they had thought. The second week of the challenge began. Everyone gathered in a new room filled with strange plants and small lights. Sage Thorvrim, the tree-like alien, stood in the middle. "On my world, the Arborians learn to talk with plants," said Sage Thorvrim in its deep, slow voice. "Plants talk to each other through tiny strings underground. They share food, warnings, and help each other grow." Taehyun nodded. "On Earth, we call it the mycorrhizal network. Fungi connect tree roots underground." "Yes," said Sage Thorvrim, "but on our world it is much more complex. Our plants share not just food but ideas." The alien waved its bark-like hands and the lights in the room glowed brighter. "For this test you will wear these." Sage Thorvrim pointed to helmets on a table. "They will connect your minds to a copy of our plant network. You must learn to understand the signals and respond to them." Jinwoo picked up one of the helmets. "What kind of signals?" "Thousands of tiny messages," said Sage Thorvrim. "About water, light, danger, growth. You must learn to hear them all at once and know what they mean." Commander Park looked worried. "Is this safe for humans?" "Yes," said Sage Thorvrim. "The helmets will not harm you, but learning this skill takes our young ones 50 years. You have 1 week." Taehyun could see that the aliens thought this test was impossible for humans, but he remembered how they had adapted to the first test. Maybe they could do it again. Everyone put on a helmet. Taehyun felt a small buzz as it turned on. Then suddenly his mind was filled with noise. It was like hearing 1,000 people talk at once, but not with words. It was feelings, images, needs, all mixed together. "Too much," shouted Do-hyun, pulling off his helmet. "It's too loud." The other humans were also struggling. Jinwoo had his eyes closed tight. Commander Park was holding her head. Even Taehyun felt sick from all the information coming in at once. The aliens, however, seemed calm. They sat with their helmets on, their faces peaceful. "Try again," said Sage Thorvrim. "Start by listening to just one kind of signal. Ignore the rest." The humans put their helmets back on and tried. Taehyun focused on finding just one clear signal in the noise. After an hour, he found it. A soft, gentle feeling that meant water. He held on to that one signal, ignoring everything else. By the end of the first day, each human had found 1 or 2 signals they could understand. But they were far behind the aliens, who could already handle hundreds of signals at once. That night, Taehyun couldn't sleep. His head hurt from the test. But as he lay in bed, he had an idea. The next morning, he gathered the humans before the test. "We're trying to do this alone, but that's not how humans work best," said Taehyun. "We're good at working together." "What do you mean?" asked Jinwoo. "Yesterday, I found the signal for water, and you found the one for sunlight," said Taehyun. "Do-hyun found danger, and Commander Park found growth. What if each of us focuses on just a few signals, then we share what we learn?" Commander Park nodded slowly. "A human network to understand the plant network. It might work." When the test began again, they tried Taehyun's plan. Each human focused on learning just a few signals really well. Then, during breaks, they taught each other what those signals meant and how to find them. By the third day, they had a system. They sat in a circle with their helmets on. When one person found an important signal, they would tap a code on the floor. The others would then look for that same signal. They were learning together. Sage Thorvrim watched with interest. "You are not doing it the way Arborians do," the alien said during a break. "We each learn all signals alone." "Humans work differently," said Taehyun. "We share what we learn. It makes us all stronger." The alien's bark-like face moved in what might have been a frown. "But how will you handle all signals when you are alone?" "We won't be alone," said Commander Park. "Humans are almost never completely alone. We live in groups, work in teams." By the fifth day, the humans had made great progress. They couldn't handle as many signals as the aliens, but they understood the most important ones. They had created their own way of learning the plant language. On the final day of the test, Sage Thorvrim gave them a challenge. "The network will send a complex message about a forest fire. You must understand where the fire is and help the plants respond." The bike test began. Taehyun felt the signals change. Now there was fear, heat, warning. The signals moved faster, more urgently, following their system. Each human focused on their assigned signals, then shared what they learned through their tapping code. Within an hour, they had pieced together the message. The fire was coming from the north. Plants needed to move water. From the south, close their leaves to save water and drop seeds to the west where it was safe. Taehyun sent these responses back through the helmet. There was a moment of quiet, then a feeling of relief came through the network. When they took off their helmets, Sage Thorvrim was looking at them with new eyes. "You understood," said the alien. "Not as fully as my people would, but enough to help. And you did it in 1 week, not 50 years. We worked together," said Taehyun. "That's the human way." "Working together to understand plants?" said Matriarch Zilf, the water-like alien. "How strange." "Not just plants," said Jinwoo. "Humans work together to understand everything. Science, art, building things. We share what we learn." Elder Nolda, who had been watching quietly, spoke up. "I see now. You make up for your short lives by learning from each other. One human might live only 100 years, but you stand on the learning of all humans who came before you." "Yes," said Taehyun. "We don't have to learn everything from the start. We build on what others discovered." The aliens talked among themselves in their own languages. Finally, Elder Nolda turned back to the humans. "You have surprised us twice now," said the alien. "First by adapting to our way of being still. Now by finding your own way to understand the plant network. Perhaps there is more to learn about humans than we thought." "Just wait until next week," said Commander Park with a small smile. "It's Matriarch Zilf's test next." As they left the room, Taehyun felt proud. The aliens had expected humans to fail, but they were beginning to see that human ways had value too. Maybe being short-lived wasn't so bad if it meant learning to adapt quickly. The next test would be even harder, but Taehyun was starting to believe that humans could do anything if they worked together. Their lives might be short compared to the aliens, but they were finding ways to make every year, every day, even every minute count. And that, he thought, was something even the long-lived aliens could learn from. The third week of the challenge arrived. This time, everyone met in a room filled with large tanks of water. Matriarch Zilf, the water-like alien, floated in her clear suit near the tanks. "The Aquari test is about change," she said, her voice bubbling through her translator. "On our water world, we must adapt to changing conditions all the time. Temperature, pressure, salt levels. Our test will see how well you can handle these changes." Taehyun looked at the tanks with worry. "Will we be in the water?" "Yes," said Matriarch Zilf. "These tanks will change their conditions rapidly. You must keep your body working well as things change around you." Engineer Jinwoo touched one of the tanks. "How fast do these changes happen?" "Very fast," said the alien. "Young Aquari trained for 20 years to master this skill. You have 1 week." Everyone changed into special suits that would monitor their bodies. The suits were tight and had many small sensors on them. Each person then climbed into their own water tank. Taehyun's tank was filled with warm, clear water. It felt nice at first. He floated easily, looking around at the others. The alien seemed very calm. The humans looked nervous. "We will start slowly," said Matriarch Zilf. "Try to keep your body steady as things change." Suddenly, the water in Taehyun's tank got colder. Not freezing, but cool enough to make him shiver. Then the water started moving, creating waves that pushed him around. Next, the water got a bit cloudy, making it harder to see. Taehyun tried to stay calm. He focused on his breathing, keeping it slow and steady. He moved his arms and legs gently to stay in place as the water pushed him. The other humans were doing the same, but the aliens were doing much better. They barely moved as their tanks changed. Their bodies seemed to adjust perfectly to each new condition. After an hour, the first test ended. Everyone climbed out of their tanks. "That was just the beginning," said Matriarch Zilf. "Tomorrow will be harder." She was right. The next day, the changes came faster and were more extreme. The water went from warm to cold quickly. The pressure increased, pushing on Taehyun's ears and making them hurt. The water became very salty, then almost sweet. Waves crashed against him from different directions. By the end of the second day, all the humans were tired and sore. Even Taehyun, who had been doing well, felt sick from all the changes. "The aliens are built for this," said Do-Yun during their break. "Their bodies can handle these changes better than ours." "True," said Taehyun. "But remember the first 2 tests. We found our own way to succeed." That night, Taehyun thought hard about the problem. The aliens' bodies naturally adjusted to changes. Human bodies weren't as good at that. But humans were good at making tools and solving problems. The next morning, Taehyun gathered the humans before the test. "We can't change our bodies to be like theirs," he said, "but we can use our minds to help our bodies." "What do you mean?" asked Commander Park. "I noticed something yesterday," said Taehyun. "The changes in the tanks happen in patterns. If we can learn the patterns, we can prepare for each change before it happens." Jinwoo nodded excitedly. "Yes, I saw it too. The cold water always comes after the pressure drops. The waves always come from the same directions in the same order." "Exactly," said Taehyun. "Let's watch for these patterns and use them to get ready for each change." When the test began again, the humans paid careful attention to the order of changes. They found that Taehyun was right. There were clear patterns. Once they knew what was coming next, they could get ready for it. If they knew cold water was coming, they would start moving their arms and legs to warm up. If high pressure was next, they would take deep breaths to help their ears adjust. If big waves were coming, they would position themselves to move with the waves instead of fighting them. By the 5th day, the humans were doing much better. They weren't as good as the aliens, but they had improved a lot. Their bodies were learning to work with the changes instead of against them. On the final day, Matriarch Zilf made the test even harder. "Today there will be no patterns," she said. "The changes will come randomly." This was a big problem for the humans' plan. Without patterns, they couldn't prepare. When the test started, the changes came from nowhere. Hot, then cold. High pressure, then low. Waves from all directions. Taehyun struggled at first, but then he realized something. His body had learned more than he thought. His muscles now knew how to respond to each type of change. Even without knowing what was coming next, he could Adapt quickly once it happened. The other humans were finding the same thing. They had trained their bodies to react faster than normal. It wasn't as good as knowing the patterns, but it was much better than when they started. When the final test ended, everyone climbed out of their tanks. They were tired, but proud. They had done much better than anyone expected. Matriarch Zilf looked at the humans with new respect. "You found patterns that we did not tell you about," she said. "And when we took away the patterns, you still adapted." "That's what humans do," said Commander Park. "We look for patterns, we learn, we adapt." "I see now," said Matriarch Zilf. "Your short lives have forced you to learn quickly. What takes our young 20 years to master, you found ways to do in days." The three alien leaders gathered together and talked quietly. Then Elder Nolda turned to the humans. "You have completed 3 tests now," said the glowing alien. "Each time, you have surprised us. You did not do things our way, but you found your own way to succeed. And sometimes," added Sage Thorvrim, "your way was faster than ours. Different but effective." "We still have one more test," said Taehyun. "The human test." "Yes," said Elder Nolda. "What will you ask us to do?" Taehyun smiled. "You'll find out tomorrow. But I will tell you this. It will test how quickly you can think, how fast you can learn, and how well you can handle many things at once." The aliens looked at each other with slight worry. These were not things their species were good at. Their long lives had taught them to be patient, to take their time, but humans lived in a faster world. "We accept the challenge," said Elder Nolda. "But I must ask, why do humans move so quickly through life? Why do you not take more time to enjoy each moment?" Taehyun thought about this question. "Because for us, life is short. We don't have thousands of years, so each day, each hour matters more. We can't waste time." "I'm starting to understand," said Elder Nolda. "Your short lives don't make you less. They make you more focused." "Yes," said Taehyun. "And tomorrow, you'll see just how focused humans can be." As the aliens left, Jinwoo turned to Taehyun. "So what is this human test going to be? It has to be good." Taehyun smiled. "Oh, it will be. We're going to show them what it's really like to live at human speed." The final week of the challenge arrived. Everyone gathered in a large room that Taehyun and his team had prepared overnight. The room was divided into 5 different sections. Each section had different equipment and screens. "Welcome to the human test," said Taehyun, standing before the 3 alien leaders. "This test will show you what it means to live at human speed." Elder Nolda, Sage Thorvrim, and Matriarch Zilf looked around the room with curiosity. "What must we do?" asked Elder Nolda. "Humans face many challenges every day," said Taehyun. "We must think quickly, solve problems, and handle many things at once. Today you will try to do the same." He pointed to the 5 sections of the room. "Each area has a different task. You must complete all 5 tasks in just 3 hours. 3 hours, said Sage Thorvrim slowly. "That is very little time." "For humans, it's normal," said Commander Park. "We make decisions and solve problems quickly because we must." Taehyun explained each task. "First, you must solve a puzzle that changes every few minutes. Second, you must learn a new skill and use it right away. Third, you need to handle a surprise problem. Fourth, you must create something new. And fifth, you must teach someone else what you learned." The aliens looked worried. Their species were used to taking days, years, or even decades to do such things. "This is how humans live," said Jinwoo. "We don't have time to think for years about one thing. We must learn fast, decide fast, and move on." "Let us begin," said Elder Nolda, though the alien's glowing skin had dimmed slightly. The test started. The aliens moved to the first area, where they faced a puzzle made of shapes that had to fit together, but every few minutes the shapes would change. The aliens worked slowly and carefully, but the changes came too fast for them. They had barely solved one puzzle when it changed to a new one. "This is too quick," said Sage Thorvrim. "We need more time to think." "Humans don't get more time," said Taehyun. "We learn to think faster." After an hour, the aliens moved to the second area. Here they had to learn to play a simple Earth instrument called a flute. They were given instructions and just 30 minutes to learn and then play a short song. The aliens struggled. Their careful, slow way of learning didn't work well here. By the time they had learned to make one clear note, much of their time was gone. "How do humans learn so quickly?" asked Matriarch Zilf, frustrated as she tried to make music. "We try, fail, adjust, and try again," said Taehyun. "We don't worry about being perfect the first time." In the third area, the aliens faced a surprise. Lights in the room suddenly went out, and a recorded voice announced a pretend emergency. They had to find their way in the dark and fix a broken machine using only touch. The aliens moved very slowly, unsure what to do without time to plan. "Humans face the unexpected every day," said Commander Park. "We can't take years to decide how to handle surprises." In the fourth area, the aliens were given art supplies and asked to create a picture of Earth based only on what they had heard about it. They had just 20 minutes. "Create a whole picture in 20 minutes?" said Sage Thavrim. "On my world, an artist might spend 50 years on one painting. And they might make something beautiful," said Jinwoo. "But humans create quickly, share what they make, get feedback, and create again. We make hundreds of things in the time you make one." In the final area, the aliens had to teach a human crew member something new, anything they had learned during their time on the station. Elder Nolda tried to teach about stars, but the way the alien explained was slow and had too many details. The human student became confused. "More simple, please," said the student. "Just the main idea first." By the end of the 3 hours, the aliens were tired and frustrated. They had not finished most of the tasks. Things that seemed so simple to humans were very hard for species that lived for thousands of years and never needed to hurry. Everyone gathered again in the center of the room. "This test was unfair," said Elder Nolda. "It was made for beings who think like humans." "Yes," said Taehyun. "Just as your tests were made for beings who think like you. The Luminari test was perfect for someone who can sit still for decades. The Arborian test was perfect for someone who can spend 50 years learning one skill. The Aquari test was perfect for a being who lives in water. Each test showed what your species values." The aliens were quiet as they thought about this. "And what does the human test show that you value?" asked Sage Thavrim. "Speed," said Taehyun. "Flexibility, the ability to learn quickly, handle surprises, create, and share. These are things humans must be good at because our lives are short." "I think I understand now," said Matriarch Zilf. "You do not see your short lives as a weakness. You have built a whole way of living that makes them a strength." "Exactly," said Commander Park. "We don't have time to waste, so we don't waste time." The aliens talked among themselves for several minutes. Then Elder Nolda turned to the humans. "When we first met, we felt sorry for you," said the glowing alien. "We thought your short lives made you less than us, but now we see that you live differently, not less." "In some ways," said Sage Thavrim, "you may live more than we do. You experience more in 1 year than we might in 10. Your minds move quickly," said Matriarch Zilf. "You learn, create, and solve problems faster than we thought possible." Taehyun smiled. "And your ways have value too. Your patience, your deep understanding, your long view of time. These are things humans could learn from." Elder Nolda's skin glowed brighter. "Perhaps that is what this challenge has really taught us. That each species has its own way of living, and each way has value." 2 days later, Taehyun stood with Commander Park in the station's main room. On the large screen, they could see the Galactic Council meeting. Elder Nolda was speaking to hundreds of alien leaders from across the galaxy. "We came to Earth thinking we would find a young, primitive species," said Elder Nolda. "Instead, we found beings who have turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength." The alien showed data from the 4 weeks of tests. "Humans live short lives, but they live fully. They learn quickly, adapt to change, work together, and find creative solutions to problems. They pack more living into 1 century than some of us do in 1,000 years." The council members made sounds of surprise and interest. "I recommend that humans be invited to join the Galactic Council as full members," said Elder Nolda. They have much to teach us about living well, even if they do not live long. The council voted and the screen showed green lights, the universal sign for yes. Commander Park turned to Taehyun with a smile. We did it. We showed them that human lives matter. We showed them more than that, said Taehyun. We showed them that sometimes having less time makes you value that time more. As the human crew celebrated, Taehyun thought about what they had learned. The aliens lived for thousands of years, but they moved slowly through life. Humans lived for a short time, but they burned brightly. Maybe, he thought, that was the real difference. It wasn't about how long you lived. It was about how fully you lived each day you had. The aliens had time, but humans had life. Intense, fast, creative, adaptive life. And in the end, that was just as valuable as all the time in the universe.